Hey gang, welcome to session 2. Now in our last session, we talked about how important it is when you're learning sleight of hand to use simple techniques, so that instead of spending all of your energy learning how to deal with your hands, you can use that focus to learn how to direct the attention of your audience toward the effect. As you will see in today's session, when you actually learn to focus the audience like a laser on the action of the effect, the methods most of us spend so much of our time trying to figure out how to cover and distract people from seeing have a crazy tendency to just sort of disappear and become total non-issues. First, let's talk today about some important concepts that make all of sleight of hand work. Think stop is literally the oldest trick in the book. At least it was for me. When I was 6 years old, my great uncle Bobby did a trick for me at a family dinner using the exact same method as think stop. And Bobby did it so bad that it was literally my first lesson in magic. This is pretty much how Bobby did it for me. He had me say stop as he ran his thumb down the card like that, and then I said stop, and he said take a card, and I took the card and looked at it, just like so. And then as I looked up to place the card back in the pack, this is what I saw Bobby doing. All right, Aaron, place your card back in the pack. Thank you. Now, when I teach this to my students, I always ask them, can you tell me why that was so bad? And they always say the same thing. 'Cause I saw it? And I'm like, yes, that's why it was bad. But since we're here to learn about magic, maybe we could unpack that a little. And for the sake of education, think, why did you see it? Well, to me, it's pretty funny, really. Bobby actually got busted looking at the key card because he looked at the key card at like the worst possible moment. There could have been like 5 really bad moments, 43 really good moments. He chose like the worst one of the bad moments. I looked up from looking at the card, he waited till I was looking at him, and then he went, couldn't get any worse. And then at that moment, he attempted to do a second sneaky move, take that card that he'd just seen and drop it on top of my selection. Well, I'd already caught him when he glimpsed the card. So at that point, he didn't stand a prayer of setting the key card without getting caught. And frankly, I was 6 years old. That's how bad it was. That teaches us a major rule. It doesn't matter what you get caught doing, and it doesn't matter what you get suspected of doing. Any little hint that you give the audience at any point in the entire process gives them enough of a clue to follow the trail all the way back to your lair. The entire ball of yarn that is your magical effect can literally be unraveled from any single weak point in the entire chain. That's why you should never, I mean ever, plan on doing more than one secret move at a time. It doesn't matter how easy those moves are, how simple or basic they are, like glimpsing and setting a key card, the easiest, simplest concepts in all of card magic. You should always put a healthy amount of time in between those two moves, so that no matter what happens, you will never get caught doing one and have it lead you to the other. If you don't accept this fundamental reality of sleight of hand and how it works, you're pretty much going to be doomed to do less than amazing magic. All right, so imagine an old prison movie. Doesn't really matter which one, they're all the same. Our hero, the prisoner, wants to get out. He wants to escape across the prison yard at night. There's fog everywhere, there's guards walking on the tower, there's a floodlight swinging back and forth. Now our hero, the prisoner, he wants to get the heck out of there. And he wants to jam out, but he can't because that floodlight's swinging back and forth. Now what happens to that prisoner if he scoots right across the yard? Bam! As soon as that light swings by, somewhere right around here, he gets caught, he gets stopped in the light, and he gets shot. Now the same exact thing happens to the magician trying to get away with doing 2 moves at the exact same time. The audience's attention is like that floodlight, swinging back and forth, always keeping an eye on the effect. Now we magicians, when we're smart, are just like that smart prisoner. We don't go straight across, we wait and then we take one simple straight action. And then the floodlight comes back, and we make one simple straight action. One simple straight action. And if you do it that way, you can get to daylight without ever getting caught, ever getting noticed, or ever getting suspected. Of course, we magicians aren't nearly as slick as we like to think we are. We also don't like lying and deceiving our audiences nearly as much as we'd like to think we do. So what we always try and do is with guilt, get it all over with fast. Get all the deception over with fast. And just like that stupid prisoner running across the yard, we either do 2 moves at once in the same motion, like we're making a mad dash for freedom and we get popped, or we go and we don't wait for the light to keep moving. We don't go with the flow. We don't wait for that pendulum to swing back and forth, and we try and gang up these moves. And just like the dumb prisoner, we invariably, when we do that, get popped the very next time that that floodlight comes by. Now let's look at Think Stomp and how it works in actual practice. And notice how the glimpsing of the key card and the setting of the key card are so separated in this process that they might as well each be their own separate needle in a whole different haystack. No matter what you do, you can't find either of them. Now let's talk about how to glimpse the key card. I always tell my students that sleight of hand is a lot like high school homework. If you never want to rush, if you never want to feel like you don't have time, start way early. I suggest you start before you even do the trick. Just make sure that the faces of the cards are inside the case toward that half moon cutout. Then, before you've ever even begun to think about doing magic, when the cards come out at the very beginning, just look down as you normally have to, just to put your thumb on the flap. It's not a big thing. And you make sure to remember the card that you see, and it's over. You've glimpsed the key card, and it's before the trick. No one's even paying attention. In fact, the hardest part about this method is remembering to look at the key card when you pull the cards out of the case. Because remember, at that point in the trick, the audience isn't paying attention, they're not scrutinizing you, and often the magician isn't paying that much attention either. So it's actually it's a nice problem to have, but it's a pretty embarrassing thing the first time you are having so much fun doing magic that you forget to do the little move that you had to do the trick because you're just too busy enjoying yourself. So if you think that may happen to you, there's completely no shame in it. It happens to all of us. Just put an obvious card like the ace of spades on the bottom of the pack. Now you don't have to memorize anything on the fly or worry about anything. And trust me, when you're trying to learn how to focus all of your attention on the audience and their experience, having nothing extra to think about is a really smart idea. So the trick is just getting started. And as I tell my students, if you can do an overhand shuffle to control the bottom stock at this point, you really should. And briefly, I'll show you how it works so you can see exactly what's going on. You start with the deck in dealing position. You put your thumb on top of the cards. You put your fingertips on the bottom of the deck, and you kick the deck up to overhand shuffle position. Really important that the first finger stays curled at the front edge of the deck and that the pinky overlaps at least slightly the back edge of the deck. Now, just like an ordinary overhand shuffle, you're going to undercut the bottom portion of the cards. The left thumb comes down on the top edge, except the difference is your second and third fingers press up against the bottom card of the deck and hold back that bottom card. And then you use the left thumb to shuffle off the rest of the cards. Now, no, it is not technically necessary for you to do this overhand shuffle at this point in the trick. But think about it. You've pulled the cards out of the case, you give the cards a little shuffle when you're starting the trick, and that shuffle is like insurance that alleviates any suspicion about anything before it ever arises. And at the same time, it really serves to cover the small little bit of deception that you've already enacted to glimpse the key card in the first place. And I always tell my students, there's a lot of shuffle systems in the world, a lot of controls, a lot of ways to get things done. But if you can learn one shuffle, one control, let it be the overhand shuffle. It'll never steer you wrong. After the overhand shuffle, let the cards fall back down to dealing position and riffle down the left corner of the pack for a selection. Now for most folks, it's much easier to do this with the first finger curled up on the bottom of the pack. You just slightly bevel the cards over and riffle the cards down for the selection. Now go nice and slow, because ideally you would like to have the spectator stop you about more or less halfway down. Now it's not something to get neurotic about, and it's not something to worry about, but just keep an eye on it and it'll make more sense as we go along. When she says stop, have her take her card, look at it, and remember it. As soon as she takes the card off the packet, bring your left hand back to your right hand. Then, as she takes her card and looks at it, at that moment, as her gaze meets the card, at that moment, you execute the lovely little cut that we learned how to do at the last session. As she looks at the card, briefly, you swivel the trapdoor of the left hand away, lower the right hand, raise the right hand empty, and replace the cards in your right hand. Make sure that you don't do this in any way that could be kind of construed as interesting. Remember, she's looking at her card as it happens. She should look back up when she's done, and the whole thing should be over, like nothing ever happened. Now, when she looks back after remembering her card, this is what she sees. You saying, go ahead, place your card in the center of the pack, pointing right to the middle of the pack, supposedly exactly where she already said stop. Also notice all of this tension in my neck. Remember, tension draws focus. If you think about it, tension really is focus as it's expressed by your muscles. So this tense picture draws focus and causes the audience to notice a very clear picture of me not looking at the cards as she goes to place her selection back in the pack. That picture turns into a very real memory later and palpably adds to the effect when they remember this very clear picture of me not looking anywhere near the action at the moment they want to remember, feeling like the process was super fair. Now you can see how you really cover a key card. First, you cite the key card early. Now no one sees the setting coming at all because they don't know there's a key card. Then you cover the setting of the key card in the natural action of the effect. Finally, you create a false memory of the fairness of the procedure to negate any backtracking or suspicion of any kind. As you may be figuring out by now, it takes quite a lot of practice to apply this kind of thinking in real life to all the magic you perform. And it's a much easier process when you're not trying to learn it at the same time you're attempting to fool people with advanced sleight of hand. We have created right now the perfect foundation for a miracle to come. So go practice what you've learned during this session, and next time, the whole plan will come together. Becoming a real card magician is a fascinating journey that's guaranteed to teach you a great deal about yourself and about your hidden potential. Now that process can be a lot more fun, fast, and rewarding with regular help along the way from an experienced teacher. Why not come online now and tell me about you and your magic, and I'll send you a free learning evaluation designed to help you assess your current progress, set meaningful goals, and accelerate your learning. Each response is personal and unique and designed to help you do better magic faster than ever before. So go to learncardtricksonline.com right now to get started. I'll see you there really, really soon. Thanks for watching.